All right. What is going on, guys? It's Baint. Welcome to the first Landscape Owners Mastermind meeting. Joining me today is Manuel. Me and him had a really awesome discussion the other day and decided that it was perfect opportunity for the first meeting to jump in here. You're based in California, and we talked a lot about kind of the changes that are happening over there with electrical equipment. And like you said, you went to the town hall today. You got some important information and kind of just in the field experiencing that firsthand. So yeah, let's jump right into it, dude. If you want, just say like a
So
little bit about
basically,
yourself and
I
the
went
company
to
too.
yep. I'm the owner and operator of Sabreros Landscaping here in Palm Springs, California. So today I went over just because here in our city, they're starting to implement a lot of electric switch from gas in lawn equipment. So a thing that our city is doing is basically promoting and incentivizing owners, whether it's homeowners, landscape company owners, to switch their equipment basically from gas to electric. So they're giving people vouchers. Like, let's say you own a business. So for me, I had to take my business license, all my IRS stuff, and present it to them and basically show that I was in good standings as a business owner. And they gave me a $750 voucher to switch over from gas to electric. Obviously, that hasn't kicked in yet. I bought some equipment today uh, because of that. Um, but yeah, basically, the summer of last year, there was a measure that was voted on here in California. It was the Assembly Bill 1346. Basically, that states that by 2024, any mower, blower, or any lawn equipment is going to be switched over from gas to electric.
Hmm.
So it's already in the works anyway. So some cities are basically gearing up for that and already incentivizing it. Like I know in, almost all of Los Angeles County, parts of Orange County, obviously here in Palm Springs, they already have like basically zoning that sets that up and has got it implemented into the ordinances in the city.
Hmm.
So that's kind of what's going on here. But yeah, I mean, if people get on city websites, look at what their, well, here we call it a sustainment department, but basically every city infrastructure set up with a department similar to that, whether it's zoning or wherever it may fall. And they have resources, whether it's a grant through the state or through the city itself, that will basically help you or pay for just, I don't know, a portion of your equipment to facilitate the switchover.
Okay.
So that's kind of in a nutshell what's going on here
Hmm. So when it comes to
with all that.
that's that's really interesting. So with the voucher, you said it's like $750.
That's what they capped me out at. I wish I could share my screen because I have the voucher actually pulled up. Um, but yeah, basically, that's the limit that the city set up. I'm sure in other places, like Los Angeles, it's going to be a little higher if they have it. Um, the cost of living, I think, is going to dictate it. But yeah, so that was the limit. And it was fast. I submitted my paperwork, and within 30 minutes, I got the approval. Yeah, and 750 is what they're giving out right now as a business owner.
And you said that's based on location and living costs, or is it based on the value of your
Yeah,
business?
yeah, because your living cost in Los Angeles County is going to be higher than it is here in Palm Springs. So I'm sure it's going to be dictated because everything is dictated like that here for
Right.
the most part. Is the cost of living kind of dictates.
So it's not like, you know, you have a business that's maybe one truck, one trailer, one mower, and maybe one or two employees. You're not going to get the same level of funding, or that business is going to get the same level of funding as a business that's like two or three trucks. You know what I mean? So it's like $750 might not even put a dent in the amount of equipment that some of those bigger companies are going to have to buy, which is kind of crazy.
Oh no, it's not gonna. It no, it because I mean, if you look at prices like I went with Toro, just because after kind of doing a lot of research, they just came out last year or during the summer. Actually, they came out with what they call the 60-volt Revolution series that they have, which is their commercial side. Because I mean, they already have like a residential platform, you know, whether it's mowers, trimmers, they have a residential one, but they came out with a commercial one because so the thing in the industry with the electric stuff is nobody has been able to figure out how to not use so much battery power with blowers, with leaf blowers. That's kind
Mm.
of been everybody's Achilles heel. It's been killing everybody. So Toro has been figuring it out, and they came out with what they call a cannon. It's like you strap backpack blower, and I mean, it's a powerful. It competes with the gas mowers. So that's who I went with because all their batteries are interchangeable. But what you
Mm.
said is right. Someone that has a fleet of 5, 6, 7 trucks, you're gonna buy a battery with that. That's what you're gonna buy.
Yeah.
You know, so if for a sole operator, it's cool. It's very cool for a sole operator like myself.
Yeah.
But for someone that's got a fleet of 5, 6 trucks, it's gonna be you're gonna buy a battery with that. Basically, is what you're gonna end up buying because um,
Mm.
that's that's where all this equipment. That's where the cost is, the battery power. You know, but to me, and this is just my opinion because I mean it's going to vary from business to business, just depend on the spending and the budget and whatnot. For me, it makes sense because my cost of like fuel alone, I mean a year anywhere from 2,000 to 3,000, and you know that includes maintenance, you know, filters, oil, plugs. It adds up. So I mean, am I gonna have to buy, you know, some batteries and I might spend one or two, $3,000? Yeah. But that's it. I'm
Mm.
not having to re-spend that the following year in fuel costs. And I'm only gonna eat that bullet once.
Right.
But someone that has a large fleet, it's gonna be very detrimental. Like because I look at some companies here, like we have companies that are big, you know, I call them like the Walmarts. They're like the Walmarts of landscaping, like and they have, you know, companies here, Arizona, like all over the West Coast. So they're multi-stated companies.
Mm.
They're gonna take big losses here because they're huge. They're
Right.
huge companies. I mean, to replace fleets like that, it's gonna cost thousands of dollars,
Yeah.
if not, you know, into the hundreds.
Yeah, I'm like I'm pretty curious what the end result's going to be because obviously gas prices are higher than they've ever been, or at least in recent times.
Mm-hmm.
So for a lot of companies, and like I've been doing a lot of meetings with landscapers, obviously like with my marketing stuff and just talking with them. And one thing that I always ask them is kind of like, what are some of the biggest struggles that you're having this year, or at least in the past, you know, recent history? And every single time it's gas prices
Yeah.
and labor. But interestingly enough, I mean, utility companies and utility bills have gone up over 100% in the past couple of years as well. So, you know, it's getting to a point where electricity is not exactly cheap either. So, you know, to
Yep.
save a little bit of money on electric instead of gas a year or two ago, maybe that would have been, you know, something that made sense financially. But now, you know, I'm definitely curious to see, especially for you, because you're kind of a great like benchmark, I guess, as a solo operator, where it's like, you know, for one truck, one crew, one setup, this is how much I'm spending on electricity every month to charge all this equipment. So you can multiply that by 3, 4, or 5, depending on
Yeah.
how big your company is, right? So it's kind of a good way to measure that. And I'm curious if people are actually going to save money on gas or gas compared to electric. You know what I mean? Basically, like running costs of the business and the equipment.
Yeah.
If there's anything to really be gained there in the transfer from gas to electric, or if it's just as expensive.
I think eventually there will be a saving, but I think the to get the wheel rolling is going to take time. I don't think it's going to be something. I don't think it's going to be something substantially visible within your first year. I don't think you're going to see it in your first. I think in your first year you're going to lose money
Mm.
if you're a big operator with, you know, 5, 6 trucks. You're going to lose money, you know, because you're going to have to invest into that equipment. And I mean, you know, there's going to be things like you're going have to train your employees. There's going to be that training factor too, because
Hmm.
I mean, this is basically, it's like what I call like the changing of the guard. It's going from one spectrum to a completely different ball game. It's like when we started first moving everything from paper to like computer based, and throwing things on, computers.
Hmm.
It was a process. It didn't just happen overnight, and I don't think it's going to happen overnight. Whether it's savings, the training, I don't think it's hard because for me, like it works, but I see what you're saying. Like a lot of companies here in California are going to struggle with it, and I feel like the time frame for it is rushed a bit
Hmm.
because they want this to be in effect by next year, essentially. Well, not essentially. That's what the bill proposes. So yeah, it's fast. I think it's fast. I think if you catch the wave at the right time, like I feel like I'm catching the wave at the right time because I'm a sole proprietor. I don't have anything to worry about.
Right.
But yeah, it's gonna be, and in a weird way, man, I think it's gonna create business for me because it's gonna push so many people out. Like when real estate was really cheap during COVID, everybody wanted to go get the real estate license and become investors, become landlords, property owners. And when that wave died out, everybody eventually said, well, I got my real estate license, but I'm going to go back to my 9 to 5.
Hmm.
I didn't catch the wave at the right time, and they left that industry. And I think that's kind of what's going to happen here. People are not going to want to renew their business licenses, and they're just going to sell off all that equipment because it's going to be obsolete.
Right.
And I think that's what's going to happen too.
Yeah. Anybody that's like,
So
maybe a
it's
solo operator that's kind of started their business in the past 1 to 2 years, where at least from my experience, depending on how fast you're able to grow, that's still the phase where it's very important for you to be like accumulating new equipment and you're still kind of building up and investing in the business, right? So for anybody that's still kind of in that
yes,
phase that is just getting started, now they have to start over and do all of that again with electric equipment. And not only is that a huge financial setback, but I'm guessing they're also probably going to have to go out of state to sell their equipment because no one in California is going to want to buy gas powered gear if they have to go to electric anyway.
yeah,
So
I agree. I mean, I think a
that's
lot of
tough.
stuff like that is happening here though. Like, so when the new year hit, I forget the name of the bill, but there was a bill that basically, let's say you and I own trunking companies. If our fleet of trucks were older than 2007, we could not operate them.
Hmm.
So the it's the same people that basically came out with this bill, and it's the State Air Resources Board in California. So they're doing a lot of these things. It's not just in the landscaping side of things. It's in the trucking industry, and it's becoming a huge thing. And I think a lot of states, not everything that we do here is, how do I say it, good for business, if
Hmm.
that makes sense. And sometimes, unfortunately, people look at California like the poster child of where business is heading, and I don't always think that's a good thing
Absolutely.
because things like this happen. And it's hard because, I mean, do I think this is bad? I don't think it's bad, but I think it's putting a lot of people in a tight spot.
Hmm.
You know, because it's hard. I mean, I think there's advantages to having the whole um, electric versus gas powered. I think it has some advantages, but you know, that's for you as a business owner or a homeowner to decide. It's not up to the state, and they've kind of taken that out of your hands
Right.
at this point.
I mean, I feel like
Because I know for us. Oh, go ahead.
I was gonna say, I mean, call me a conspiracy theorist, but I don't know if personally, I don't think that burning gas, especially on like a lawnmower or a weed whacker, is necessarily contributing to the environment and the damage, whatever that's happening, if that's even a thing. I don't want to go too far down that because I could talk for a whole day or two about climate change and global
I
warming and
hear
all
you.
that stuff, right? So I think that from a state level, if they want to incentivize going electric, that's one thing, but to basically force it is kind of a whole other step. And that's where I feel like, especially as a business owner, you should have a choice. Like you shouldn't have to,
Yeah,
kind of be at the bend and whim of legislation just because, they decided that going green is something as a state that they want to do. And like you said, California is most certainly kind of the poster child when it comes to, politically correct, new age theory about politics and what's right and what's wrong and like virtue signaling and all this other BS, right? So the amount of
yeah,
states that probably follow afterwards, because California, like you said, is kind of that front runner, typically one of the first to adopt these types of things. It'll be interesting to see certainly how many other states adopt that afterwards and where within the United States it becomes a thing. Because I'm on the East Coast, me and you are on opposite sides of the country, right? I'm in New Hampshire, you're in California.
yeah,
I don't see anything out here related to electric stuff. And New Hampshire is pretty 50-50, but in recent times, maybe leans a little bit more towards the left, like Democratic liberal type thing as a state. So it'll be interesting to
yeah,
see what happens and where it happens and how fast, because like you said, California is already pushing for this to be a thing by 2024.
yeah.
So yeah.
It's
So
fast.
if they're moving that quick, it'll be interesting
It's
to see
fast.
what other states catch on and how soon they're trying to push it as well. So, a question that I have for you is um it was probably like a year ago, but the only electric mower that
Mm.
I've seen, and again, out here it's not super popular and it's pretty rare to even
Yeah,
see like Teslas and stuff like that out here. They're becoming more popular, but the
that,
electric thing isn't as,
that's weird.
yeah, it's not as booming. I'm sure in
Prevalent.
California it's like there's tons of them, right? Like Teslas and
Oh,
electric
yes,
vehicles.
you see Teslas, Priuses. There's a company that makes a truck actually. It's called Rivian. This truck is I'm not into electric cars either, man, but this truck is so they did a coast to coast trip with it,
Hmm.
and it's pretty legit. Because I always think like if I was forced to get an electric truck, that's the truck that I would go with.
Yeah, I've actually seen them before.
Um,
I think it
but I
was
mean,
like
yeah,
probably a year or two ago. I was looking at them because I saw that their stock on the stock market was doing really well, and it was kind of like
yeah,
promoted as like a Tesla alternative, but for more like trucking and like delivery stuff like that, or like shipment, kind of like an like a mail truck, more of like capable of like moving goods and stuff like that. So, yeah, I've heard of Rivian, and
yeah.
it's I don't know if they make like work trucks. Do they make like your typical like, you know,
Yeah, they make a truck that looks almost like the F-150, like a
yeah.
regular F-150.
Huh. I didn't know
Um,
that. The only one that
I
I've
mean,
seen
I
is
haven't
like,
looked too much into it.
yeah.
I mean, they make stuff like that too. But yeah, they have like a F-150 type truck. I haven't looked too much into it, but yeah, I think if there's a good takeaway from this is all the other states are going to see what not to do if this doesn't work out and it blows up. They're going to get to see, well, California did that and that's where it went wrong for them. Let's not do that. And that's unfortunately I'm kind of riding that wave too. You know, but yeah, there's a lot of lawnmowers. Like Toro actually came out with a stand-up mower. It's called I was just looking at it actually. What is the name of it?
Yeah. If you
It's a
know it,
grandstand. It's called a grandstand. What's that?
I said if you tell me the name, I'm gonna look it up and see if I can put my screen on the video.
So it's called the Toro grandstand. It's a 60-volt grandstand.
Yeah, what I
But
was
yeah,
gonna
it's
ask
it's
you,
pretty crazy.
let me see.
Like I was looking into it last night. It's got like a 9-hour runtime. Like it's the real deal as far as like stepping into like commercial side, because like today I just purchased like a regular push mower, nothing crazy. It's self-propelled, one of those Toros like that kind of matches your speed as you're walking type thing.
Yep.
And I mean it put a dent compared to the gas equivalent. But yeah, they're Toro for some reason, I think they're capitalizing on this, and
Yeah.
like I was reading an article where this is going to create it's going to create a $14 billion industry in the next 2 years just in California,
For electric equipment.
because like you said earlier, yeah, everybody's going to have to rebrand basically,
Yeah.
you know, and start, the companies that have been, that have longevity, I don't think they're going to hurt as bad because they have a cash flow. But like you said, the guy that just started, 2 years ago, a year ago, he's either going to sink or swim,
Yeah.
and he's going to have to figure it out fast,
Dude, I'm
and
thinking right now,
that's kind of why.
I'm thinking right now, if I drive from New Hampshire to California at the end of this year with as many 18 wheelers as I can and buy all of the gas powered equipment that I can from people in California and bring it to other states where,
Yeah,
it's still a thing. Dude, that could be like, imagine just flipping all of that equipment.
people do that all the time.
Yeah, that's insane. Because people in
People do
California are
stuff like
probably
that all the time. So
yeah, people in Cali are probably, selling it
yeah,
for
I
way
mean,
less than it's
like,
worth to get rid of it because they can't use it.
yeah, they don't even care if they break even, but I mean, people do the opposite too. Like, I have friends that own like tree services. They'll go out of state to the Midwest and buy trucks out there and bring them back
Mm,
to avoid, things like the sales tax. I mean, they don't avoid the sales tax, but they don't get dinged as hard as they would. You know what I'm saying?
yeah,
So
absolutely.
what you're saying is a thing. It is a thing,
Yeah.
you know,
Low,
because
low
people
key,
will
that might
leave.
be like $1 million idea, dude. Get some capital together and buy
Yeah,
all the used equipment in California and go
I
sell it.
mean, because if you really think about it, you could. There's truck companies that move cars and stuff all the time.
Mm,
I don't think, as fast as that idea came to you, I don't think it's far fetched at all,
no, definitely
because
not. Especially if they're making it a
it's
thing.
gonna be a thing.
Yeah. And like I said,
It's
there's not
gonna
going to
be a
be
thing.
anybody in
You know,
California that wants to buy it. So that's crazy.
mhm.
Yeah. I
And
wanted
you're gonna
to,
be able to dictate your price.
yeah, exactly. And they're, like I said, they're probably not going to be also, wow, look at this
Oh, see,
crazy
there it is.
marketing. Charged by the revolution.
Yeah.
Wow. How much does it
So
cost?
the Revolution line
That's the
is
question.
Toro's like, oh, dude, it's like 30 grand.
Yeah, I was gonna say the only electric mower that I've ever
It's a
seen
pretty. I mean,
is like 25 G's. It's like a green machine. That's the brand that I've seen here, and there's only that one. I haven't seen any Toro, anything else.
yeah.
That's weird, dude. Looks like
So both
robotic.
of those machines are, yeah, dude, they're both electric, and it's got a crazy long run, like 9 hour runtime.
9 hours. I mean, it sounds good, but like realistically, you could probably burn through that in like a day, right? Depending on how long your route is and
Oh yeah,
stuff like
I
that.
mean, if you're doing, like, acre properties at a time, you're gonna go through that pretty fast,
Yeah. Well, I mean, even it's
and
like,
you
okay,
might have to recharge it, but
yeah, and 9 hours a day, even if you're not burning through that in one day, chances are you're probably not going to have enough for the next day. So like you're pretty much charging it every night, just about. I'm depending on,
yeah,
it
because
obviously depends on
it
how.
has a 12 hour. From what I read, from 0 to 100, it's a 12 hour charge time. So I mean,
Hmm.
yeah, as soon as you finish work, you're charging it just to get back on the road again. And I mean, you're charging it you have to at least charge it for 12 hours.
Yeah.
That's your minimum charge
So
time. But
so you have to charge it. Does the machine have to be stationary and plugged in, like there's only one battery, or let's say you buy a couple different batteries for it. If you're in the field and it dies, you can swap the battery out and the machine works. Or is there only one battery per machine and it has to be, like a Tesla car plugged in somewhere?
It's like a Tesla car. It has to be plugged in.
Damn.
I'm sure with time they're gonna innovate it, but
Right.
um,
So
yeah,
even with
it's
that, dude, it's like, all right, so in a year or two, if they've got better technology with a longer runtime and a quicker charging speed, now you're gonna have to sell all your generation one electric equipment to go buy the better one that you don't have to charge every night or that doesn't die halfway through the day. Like, I don't know, dude. That sounds crazy, especially if they're not making it so you can like just swap the batteries out of them. Like when I think of electric stuff, I think of like
see,
power tools, right? Like a drill or a sawzall or something like that,
yeah,
right? Where you can just swap the battery in and out. And even those batteries die hella fast. They take forever to charge. And if it's cold or something like that, the
yeah.
batteries are junk, right? So California, you obviously don't have the problem with the cold, but still, electric equipment is not necessarily um uh the most efficient or effective, and it's certainly not something you can use for a long period of time. And I'm just imagining it now, like think
Yeah,
about the electric drill example, right? With your screw gun, when your battery's at like 2 bars, maybe 1 bar, it's starting to slow down, it's starting to act a little weird, right? Maybe not, or like a
yeah,
like an impact gun, it's not cranking bolts as fast as it was when it was on full charge. So they say it's got a 9 hour
no.
battery life, but realistically, bro, if you're mowing and it's at like 8 hours, that last hour, are you going to be cutting nice because the blades are, bogging down because the battery's almost dead? I don't know, dude. I'm not an expert on this, but I'm thinking about all the experience I have with electric tools and can't imagine the electric machines, given how fast this has all been rolled out, being that much better. Like I'd have to really use one to know, I guess, but
You're right. You're
that's just
right.
the first
With
thing that
what you
thinks.
talk about, like the the power starts to degrade as you're coming down. You know what I'm saying?
Mm,
Um, you're not wrong. You're right. Because that's kind of what I've been reading. They showcased it out at the landscaping trade show they had in Kentucky over the summer. Um, and that was kind of like the thing that was, talked about was the degradation of power as time went on.
mm,
But kind of like what you were saying, this is why I chose Toro. So Toro, all of their batteries are interchangeable, and they go from the smallest battery they have, which is a 2.5 amp hour battery, to a 10 amp, and they have packs for like the leaf blower and stuff. All of their batteries are interchangeable, so that's kind of like, kind of how Milwaukee does it, or not Milwaukee. Milwaukee's a bad example. DeWalt's batteries are all interchangeable.
mm.
It's kind of like that.
Okay.
So that's kind of why, because I mean, I've been looking at this. Like Echo has their version of the electric stuff. Steel has their version of it, and so does Toro. So the problem with the Echo and the Steel is their stuff isn't interchangeable. Like once you get a pack, you can no longer use the batteries anymore.
Hmm.
And same with Echo. Echo doesn't even have a pack. They just have like, batteries that you would plug into like an impact, like a DeWalt impact. And I mean those batteries, they're like the biggest battery they make is a 5 amp hour battery. And I mean, if you're gonna run a lawnmower, because they have a mower, they have a push mower. If you're gonna run a lawnmower, I mean, you're gonna have to have like 10, 20 batteries, because you
Yeah.
won't. You know what I'm saying? When you're doing 10, 12 houses a day, you're gonna run out of juice. That
Hmm.
is the only. Well, I mean, that's one of the bad things that I see. And Toro's kind of addressed that issue to a certain degree. They've made packs that you can attach all this stuff to. Um, and they've made a 10 amp hour battery for like your mowers. Like the mower that I purchased today. Um, it comes with a 5 amp hour battery, but I'm gonna purchase a 10 amp to give me that, longer life.
Hmm.
So if I purchase, let's say 5, 6 of them, that's maybe 2.5, 3,000 bucks that I'm spending. But
On
for
just
me that
batteries.
works. for me as a sole proprietor, that works.
Yeah.
Is it a big investment? Yeah, it is.
So, I mean, can you break down kind of like the setup that you have so far and roughly how much it costs? So, like, if you've got, a push mower, a trimmer, and a blower, like, kind of what does that run you so far? Or like, what
Um,
equipment have you
well, I
been
mean, I've
looking
done
at?
the math. I've done the math. I mean, the stuff that I got today, like, I'll put it up, but like the receipt. So this is what I bought, and you could just see, like, it's just a mower. I did it again. But basically, I paid 549 for a mower and 299 for a blower. So it's 605 CFM. So I mean, it's decently compares to the gas version of those blowers.
Hmm.
I spent $926. So to buy everything else that I would need, I would have to get, hedge trimmer, a line trimmer, and I could get by with that setup, just very what I would call like bare bones.
Hmm.
Um, it would be another $700. So I mean, roughly to run bare bones with just those four tools, it would be $1,600. And that's not any special batteries. Those are just the batteries that came with the units. And I would have to invest, maybe $500, $600 in batteries just to give me that assurance that I'm not gonna run out of juice in the middle of a job.
Right.
So I mean, yeah, overall 2 to 3 grand is, I think, a good ballpark number if you're just gonna do, mowing, blowing, and trimming. If that's all you're gonna do maybe some hedges, um, and small, tree trimming and things like that.
Hmm.
That's about what you're gonna have to spend.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you know what they're kind of saying
I
as
mean, it's
far
a,
as
it's
like,
a.
go ahead, go ahead.
Say that again. No, no, go ahead.
I'll say, do you know what they're gonna do as far as like, some of the landscaping companies and the guys that are doing like hardscape stuff or installations where it's like they're running bobcats and, excavators and stuff like that. Like, I don't think, to my knowledge, electric versions of those don't exist. I could be wrong. I'm actually gonna Google search it because who knows. But yeah, like
I don't think there
where do
is.
they?
I
I
think you're
guess what I'm
right. I
trying to
don't
say
think
is
there is anything.
where do they like draw the
Where do
line
they draw the
between,
line?
yeah, between landscaper and something else?
See, this bill is weird because I'll read you the bill. So basically, the bill was never intended for landscaping. It just kind of went that way. So the bill was intended for small off-road engines. That's what it was made for. So I'll read you the first section of the bill. So it says small off-road engines, which are used primarily in lawn and garden equipment, emit high levels of air pollutants, including oxides and nitrogen. Okay, so I am wrong. So yeah, it's basically small off-road engines. Basically, I don't think they're gonna touch anything like skid steers or anything like that
Hmm.
because those engines aren't small off-road engines.
Right. I actually I'm looking
So
at
I
this.
think, because I mean, you kind of got something going there. It's you have to kind of figure out where that line is drawn.
Right. Well, I mean, it's hard to rationalize it, especially if you are, maybe you're a landscaping company, quote unquote. Your primary services are like hardscaping and stuff like that, but maybe you've got a couple like weekly mowing accounts that you have just for a little bit of cash flow, whatever. So it's like you're gonna get stuck changing a bunch of equipment that you don't even really use as your primary money maker. And the rest, like, I don't know, you know what I mean? It's just like half of your equipment's electric now and the other half is gas. It's just getting stuck in the middle somewhere would seem almost more confusing and hard to manage than just picking one or the other. But I don't know if you can see my screen, but I found a electric
Yeah, I see it.
excavator.
I'm
That's
looking at it. I
so
see. I agree with you. I think it's gonna throw businesses into chaos because you're living in two worlds.
Right.
and uh, I, there's good to it, but there is also bad. And I think that's one of those bad things, because I think, let's say you're a business owner and you're in that limbo where you have two sets of equipment like that. It, your your base employee is going to have to be more versatile, I think. And in the long run, that's going to cost you more money, how I
Absolutely.
see it. I agree with you.
What did you, sorry to
There
interrupt you.
has to be no, no, you're good.
What did you say the voltage was for your push mower? Because this is saying it's a 20 kilowatt an
Uh,
hour battery for an excavator,
so it's 60 volts.
60 volts.
Yeah.
How is this a 48 volt battery powering an excavator and you've got a 60 volt battery in a push mower?
I don't know.
Unless there's more than one battery. I don't know, but that's kind of
Oh
where
yeah,
it's
I see it. Yeah,
possible.
that's I don't
5 hour
know.
charging time. 50 minutes for an 80% charge though. That's like not bad, I guess.
No,
If
but I mean 50 minutes, I mean
that's like if it's
I,
off at your house
it's
plugged
not
in
bad, but
like
I don't think it's yeah. I mean,
yeah.
I don't think it's bad, but I mean that 5 hour charge, that's oh man. Because let's just say you didn't have time to charge it or whatever it may be, and something comes up, because I mean sometimes a customer might walk up to you, hey, someone that isn't even a customer, people just walk, they see you working in their neighbor's house, hey, I got this or this, could you maybe do this? Or you can't really freestyle like that
Yeah. It's
because
like
everything is
as before, it was like, yeah, of course, let me
because your
just like
time is really
you got to budget everything. And like you said, you
finish this
can't just
up.
go do the neighbor's yard too because you're like, yeah, no, I got to go charge my batteries for 9 hours. I can't. Sorry.
Yeah,
That sucks. Versus, yeah, I'll be back in 15 minutes. I just got to go to the gas station and I'll be right back. And I can work for another, couple days if I had to.
yeah.
Yeah, that's kind of crazy.
I think
But
that's
this,
where it's going to be. Obviously, all of this stuff is still, like you were saying, it's still fairly new. So there's going to be, I feel like, unfortunately, a lot of growing pains with this.
hmm,
There for sure. On the customer end and on the business owner as well.
yeah.
Because I could already see someone saying, well, why is my lawn half mowed? What happened?
Yeah. Right.
I ran out of juice. That's what happened, bro.
Yeah, I
I
had to
ran
go
out of
charge my
juice.
batteries.
And
Sorry.
yeah.
Oh,
But I mean, I've already looked at stuff like that too. So there's this company that makes toolboxes that you can put on your truck with
hmm,
power strips on them.
hmm.
So I mean, people are already about this, at least here in California, to where it's become a thing. I forget the name of the company. I follow them on my Instagram, but um, basically they make power strips and toolboxes, and it's kind of like an emergency toolbox. It's got like a air hose, stuff like that. You know, so you can it's got like a compressor, basically a compressor and a power strip, so you could charge your stuff in there if you really
Hmm.
want to go to that route, because I'm sure people are going to do that. People are going to start putting these um like these battery banks inside their trailers. People that have enclosed trailers, like I don't have an enclosed trailer, but if I did, that's what I would do. I would buy a battery bank because so Toro makes a battery bank that will charge up to I want to say it's six of those 10 amp batteries, which are pretty big. I mean, they're big batteries.
Hmm.
So that's what people are going to start doing, whether they plug them up to a generator or a battery source, like a car battery or whatever it may be. People are going to start doing that, and I think people are already starting to think of like ingenuity of how they're going to cheat the system because let's say you go to a property where there is no outlets. I mean, we do have stuff like that out here, but for the most part, like a lot of the stuff is very residential tract homes. Everybody's got wall outlets.
Mm,
Maybe where you're at, it's more rural. So you have, these properties with like 10 acres. Where are you going to plug in?
yeah,
You're not going to be able to plug in anywhere.
no,
So, I
like
mean,
you said, you're
I
really
think
gonna
you
have to
have to
have it
look
on
at that
board.
too. Like for me, what's that?
I said, yeah, you're really gonna have to have it on board in your trailer, in the truck, something with you, portable power, basically.
Yeah. I think part of it too, like for me, I didn't really have a choice, but like for the people that do, you're really gonna have to see or look to see if it's gonna work for you because this is not gonna be. I mean, here it's gonna become a thing, but like let's say a state like Texas, they don't require anything like that. Some people still might want to make the jump. You're gonna have to basically evaluate if that jump or that move is gonna be worth it for you. You know, like for me, it would work. There's outlets everywhere. Even if it wasn't a thing, I think I would still make the move because of the elimination of gas and oil and maintenance. I mean, the only maintenance I would have to do really is my blade
Mm,
or, spooling, my line trimmers, because we don't winterize our equipment here. I think kind of like what you're saying, the weather is a variable too, because in the cold, batteries do act different than they do in the heat.
mm,
It's, you were talking a little bit about earlier with like drills, impacts, stuff like it's true. Uh, the cell of the battery is not going to react. So you have to look at all of those things. There's just a lot of variables. And I think for some people right now, it's not worth it. There's too many unknowns. You don't know how these machines are going to perform. Like for me, I was just talking about it. It's a calculated risk that I'm taking. It's calculated with the best knowledge that I have. But ultimately, there's a bunch of unknowns, and ultimately, like in the season as it starts going, I'll figure out all those underlying factors that I
yeah,
haven't accounted for yet. But you're right. There's a lot of unknown. I think there's a lot of opportunity for growth and improvement, obviously, because it's still new. But only as the season goes on, I'll figure it out more. I was thinking of maybe at some point like doing like when I get all this stuff, like doing a review video and kind of like, hey, this is how this works, like,
mm,
and kind of like put it on here so people could see, you know what I'm saying? And
absolutely.
we can kind of get, you know, people to really see without basically having to buy, because I
Right.
mean, I think that's the hard part, because I looked at reviews too, and on my Instagram. I did it as a joke, and I mean I don't think anything's gonna come of it. But I hit up Toro and Echo like, hey, I'm in California, like I want to review these products for you. I think it'd be cool if they hit me with all of this, product that they have or that they're releasing, and kind of just showcase what it can do and the capabilities of,
Right.
you know. Um, but with the stuff that I do have, I think it'd be cool to do it and kind of show it here, so everybody could kind of see what the stuff really can and can't do, because we can sit here and talk about what we read on the internet and what we see, but we both know, I mean, you were on the field too. You understand that a product is only going to be as good as it does work. You know,
Right.
the advertising and all of that stuff is great. It's marketing,
Yeah, absolutely.
but because I mean, I've read everything that I could read. I want to see how this works, and
Yeah.
I'll find out when I get it. I should have it by like next week.
Nice.
But when I have it, that's the true test. Is it gonna hold up in the heat? I don't think it's a big thing here, but like, I think of like the Pacific Northwest. It rains there a lot. Is this
Yeah.
stuff gonna work in the water?
Mm.
You know what I'm saying?
That's as big a
Is it gonna
factor
shut
as like
down on you? Is it water
the
resistant?
cold. Yeah, that's huge. I
Yeah.
didn't even think of the rain, dude. That's
So it's gonna all be, yeah, it's all gonna be trial and error. I think
Yeah.
with a lot of these companies, these sole proprietors, that are kind of running these things and seeing what happens, you know. But
Yeah.
yeah, that's kind of where I'm at with it. I feel fortunate because my city offers that help, you know, but and I'm sure other places do. I mean, if they want to incentivize it bad enough, that's what they're gonna do. They're gonna pay people to go that route,
Right.
you know. So
Yeah. On that note, speaking
yeah, that's kind of
of paying people to go that route and incentivizing it to happen, have they said anything about what's going to happen if you're still using gas-powered equipment in 2024? Like, is there repercussions? Is there penalties? Like, how are they going to enforce all of it in the first place?
the homeowner gets fined. So let's say here when the ordinance for blowers first came out here in California, the city would give you a warning. The first time it was a warning. The second time, the homeowner was fined $50.
Hmm.
The second time or the third time it happened, the homeowner then got fined $250. And there's nothing on the ordinance that says what would happen after the third time, but homeowners don't want to pay that.
Yeah.
So they either switch companies or get a provider that is in compliance with the ordinance.
Yeah.
But yeah, there's a repercussion for it. And I mean, the companies, the lawn care companies, like for me, I had to basically verify with the city that I was in good standings, meaning that the city wanted to know that I had no fees of violating those offenses.
Hmm.
So the the company gets hemmed up too. Um, they get fined as well. And if you're in bad standings, they put a like a hold on your business license. So I mean, people don't really want to play around with that
Yeah. It's serious.
because then at that point you're losing money. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, it is serious.
They're
So
taking,
yeah, it's
yeah, they want you to be electric for sure.
yeah. Well, I mean, it's a bill that went through and it passed. So it passed in our state house.
Hmm.
So it's a thing. It's like it's law here.
Yeah.
Some cities are implementing it before that 2024 timeframe, obviously. Like here, Los Angeles, Orange County, they're implementing it and they're just running with it. And I mean, if you're that dude that's still running like a gas blower or a gas mower, you better have, your $50 to cough up if, a city inspector drives by and catches you, because that's what's going to happen.
Yeah.
And I wouldn't be surprised if they shut the operation down. Like, let's say you're mowing a lawn or you're doing something and they shut you. I wouldn't be surprised,
Right.
because it's, and I think the cities are really, they're pushing the enforcement of it because it's money for them too. You know what I'm saying? It's like a speeding ticket. They're all about that.
Hmm.
It's money for them. So they're not gonna turn the other cheek. They're gonna, hey, pay up, you know.
Absolutely.
So yeah,
It's
there's
kind
a
of
lot to
wild
think
that they
about.
go for the homeowner too.
Well, I think it is wild, but it makes sense why.
Hmm.
Because the homeowner can't run away. You know what I'm saying? Like when people
Yeah.
do like a hit and run, the homeowner can't run away. So I don't, I think it sucks, but I'm gonna tell you the one thing that I think is really cool about this. I think the really cool thing about this is it's forcing, because I see it a lot here. I don't know if you see it in New Hampshire, but here in California, there is a lot of unlicensed landscapers that are kind of infiltrating the industry. And they've been doing this for like 10 years, 15 years, whatever. It's been a thing.
Yeah.
This is going to either force them to license and become legitimate businesses or get out of the game completely.
Yeah.
So you're not going to have um like those type of businesses, they kind of taint the industry. How I see it, because we all go through all these things to get our businesses legitimate, with the city, with the county, with the state. We go through all these steps, and you have all these owners that just, it's kind of like people running, like a mechanic shop out of their garage. That's not, to me, I'm not saying that there's no trustworthiness there. I'm sure there is people that are really good at, what they do. But let's all get on the same page, because I'm going through all these things to follow ordinance, to follow city code, to do all these things, and you're just kind of cheating the system and not paying into all of these things. Like my state license costs me, to set up a fictitious name, whether it's an LLC, a sole proprietor, whatever it may be. That's costing me money to be insured. It's costing me money. So I think that's the one good thing about this. It's forcing people out,
Mm,
because the city is saying, hey, come to us with your business license. And most of these people don't have business license
yeah.
that do this. So they're going to get taken out, basically. I mean, I don't know how the industry is in New Hampshire. Like, I don't know if you guys have a plethora of, I guess, competition that you're competing with that isn't licensed. I don't know. I don't know how it is out there.
It really depends. I think that there's definitely still people doing it. I mean, we're kind of in a place, and I'm sure it's probably similar where you're at, but there's a very wide range of properties. Like you've got everything from like your really small like trailer park lawn to like multi-million dollar lake house properties with like huge back and front lawns and everything like that. So it's like, there's plenty of smaller operations of guys that I'm sure are unlicensed and unregistered. And then you've got like, the high school kids with a push mower that go and do like 10 or 12 lawns a week or whatever. And, at that level,
Yeah,
maybe it's not as harmful or like as illegitimate. There's some young kids trying to hustle, but then there are certainly a couple people out there that are, you know, kind of running under the radar a little bit. And, when I first started my company, the first thing we did was get our LLC. And so we were registered with the state from the beginning, and we also needed that to get our tax ID number and open up the bank account and all that other stuff. So as far as the state goes, we were, legit from the jump. But the thing that we waited on was insurance.
yeah,
And basically, it got to a point we had been working for like maybe a month or two. And then it got to the point where our first client asked to see proof of our insurance. And we're like, okay, well, I guess we need to get insurance. So we kind of implemented it as it was necessary for us. But yeah, as far as getting registered and having an LLC and all that, you know, it was kind of one of the first steps that we knew we had to take. So yeah, but there's
yeah.
definitely people doing it without it.
See, and I mean, and I don't think, like you said, I don't think, the kid trying to do his hustle, like, cool, you're not on my radar. But it's these people that are making, they're making good money, but they're cheating the tax part of it.
Right.
And that's where it becomes, to me, it's like unfair, because you're competing with someone that isn't playing by the fair rules, in a sense,
Mm,
you know. Because out here it's, kind of like what you were saying, you have the variety of properties. We have, like out here in Palm Springs, like all the celebrities have homes. So there's that multi-million-dollar home, and then you have your little, apartment complexes and things like that, or whatever it may be. It varies. So I mean, it doesn't, when you're a bottom feeder, yeah, you're right. You don't really hurt the industry, but when you're starting to really make money, and you're making over 60, 70 grand a year, but you're not paying any taxes, like
yeah.
that's when, to me, it becomes an issue, because then you're my competition and you're lowballing.
Mm,
So I think that's what this is going to force, or it's going to put an end to a certain degree to it, because it's going to force people to get licensed. I mean, that's what's going to happen, because the city is going to want to see those licenses,
right.
and they're going to want to see all that equipment, or they're going to wonder, like, hey, why is this random company here operating with gas blowers still? I mean, it's going to be hard to hide,
Yeah.
where,
Especially
like you
with
said,
employees.
way back in the day, you were able to go under the radar for a long time.
Mm,
You could really do it, but now it's, I think it's getting harder and harder. I mean, look at, Biden implementing the hire of like what 80,000 IRS agents.
Mm.
Those IRS agents, they're gonna audit small businesses. That's what they're gonna do.
Yeah,
You know
I
what I'm
actually
saying?
saw
So
something pretty interesting about that. The IRS is really cracking down on small businesses, specifically businesses that are close to or around doing about 100K a year. And the reason for that is during the pandemic, there were so many people that created LLCs, and I'm sure you probably saw it happening, but people that were applying for those PPP loans, the like paycheck protection program or something like that, all you needed to do was like
mhm,
validate an LLC and like have some proof of employees and stuff like that. So it's like you had a bunch of people that were basically committing fraud, starting up an LLC, claiming that they were doing six figures or more with this many employees so that it could get $1 million PPP loan, and they'd never had an LLC up until like a month before that. So there was a huge increase in filings across the states, all of them, of new business
yeah,
formations. So now there's all these LLCs that exist in the states that aren't actually legitimate businesses. So in an effort to kind of legitimize the IRS's process of granting those loans and funding and all the other stuff that they do, they really are cracking down on the legitimacy of the smaller guys, because those are the people that were trying to do, fraudulent stuff with the PPP loans and stuff like that. So it sucks because again, the small guy is getting taxed and having to jump through
yeah.
more hoops and more regulations, and getting watched with a tighter eye. And it's hard, dude. Starting a business is certainly not easy. And as more and more things like this come up, it becomes increasingly harder. And you really kind of have to have your ducks in a row.
Yeah.
You really have to be prepared, and you have to know what you're doing and do a little bit of research to even get involved. You can't just start up a business one day and jump in blind, because you're going to get shafted. You're going to get in trouble, and it's not going to
Yeah.
be a good experience for you.
But you know what? Sometimes, things like the pandemic or recessions, they're the best time I think to start businesses too.
Absolutely.
Because they say uh, millionaires come from the economy downturns, and
Yep.
that's where they're made because they hustle so hard and they're able to figure out how to make it when money's tight. So when the economy bounces back, dude, they're booming.
Yep.
And you're right though. Now, on the flip side of that, we are going to be scrutinized and taxed a lot because of all of those things that did happen. And that's why everything has to be wired tight, in my opinion, when it comes to your business. Your bank accounts, your transparency of your books, basically, because it's gonna kill a business if they're not doing the right things. And I think that's what, to me, part of this is gonna force too. It's gonna force businesses to legitimize themselves in a sense, because the government, like as small as a city, is gonna have their eyes on them because of something as simple as a gas powered mower.
Mm.
So to me, there is some learning curve to it, I think, but overall, I think there's enough of it that's good that it's gonna outweigh the bad.
Yeah.
At least that's my optimism, because it could very well blow up, bro. It could very well blow up and
Mm.
um, basically force everybody to bring their gas stuff back. I don't know if it would go that far, but I think it could be a thing,
Mm.
you know,
I think that
when they
in this
realize,
situation,
kind of like what you were saying.
yeah. Well, like if you look at California, they've already pushed and they've already passed all of this legislation as far as bringing on the kind of revolution of electric equipment, right? So let's say that it starts to
Mhm.
blow up in their face. The equipment doesn't work, contractors are getting angry, there's a lot of stuff that's going wrong with it. I've seen videos of like e-bikes, like gas or electric powered like motorcycle type things, like blowing up inside of the mall because some kid was
Yeah.
charging it out and out. Like, what I mean? Stuff
Yes.
like that is going to happen. It's inevitable, right? So how much of
Yes.
that negative stuff is required to happen to where people start to like reduce the amount of force that they're trying to push it with. And on top of that, does a state like California even really have the ability to reverse any of this now that they've already kind of set it in motion? I think it's hard for them to take it back.
Well, I got an interesting thing. I got an interesting thing to tell you about that. So I think governments, they expect failure to a certain degree. Like I'll give you a perfect example. So during my time in the military, I learned about this. When we had our invasion of Normandy and we stormed the beaches, there was an acceptable attrition rate of 30%. So Big Army back then said, we're going to have for every 100 paratroopers that jump out of this plane, if 30 of them die before they land and don't make it onto the beach to storm, that's okay. So big governments, they have a big attrition failure rate. They're going to ride it till the wheels fall off,
Right.
basically, is what I'm saying. They're going to let it explode completely.
Yeah.
And then they'll try to rehash everything and say, okay, well, we've learned from this. And I think they'll make it sound like it's not their fault. Like, I don't want to go down this rabbit hole a lot. I'm kind of like you. But if you look at like the press secretary of the president, she's really good at flipping everything into not being this administration's fault. That's what the state is. The state is going to say, well, we didn't foresee this coming. Yeah, you did. You're just not going to take the hit publicly for it.
Mm.
And I think that's what's going to happen. I think you're absolutely right. I think that's what's going to happen. They're just going to let the consumer, the contractor, take the hit.
Yep.
And that's kind of, that's part of like estimated guess on my purchase today. I was willing to take the, how a lot of people have to look at it too. It's like, okay, I'm going to make this decision for my business, or whether I'm a homeowner. Is this going to be good for me? And am I okay with this decision? Can I live with this if this machine doesn't work? I'm okay with it. Like if this doesn't work, I only take like a $200 loss because the city's giving me $750. So that's why it was so easy for me to live with. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And I think that's going to be, that kind of has to be the big question. I mean, even let's just say we're talking about gas purchases, gas powered equipment. You as a property owner or a business owner have to say, can I live with the purchase of this, skid steer? Can I live with the purchase of this dump trailer? Am I okay with this if this doesn't meet the expectations or what I wanted it to meet? And if the answer is yeah, then go for it, is how I see it. And you understand this, I think, part of being a business owner, you have to take that risk. When you, there was this quote that I read today, dude, and it made me think of kind of what we're talking about right now. And it basically says, there are people less qualified than you doing the things you want to do simply because they decided to believe in themselves. So at that point, as a business owner, you have to believe that you're making the most educated guess based on the information you have. And I think that's all, as business owners, entrepreneurs, whatever you want to call it, that's all we can do is make the best educated guess with the information we have. And I think that's part of it too, man, believing in yourself. I mean, I'm not one of those like, rah-rah guys, but you have to believe in your product because how else are you going to sell it? Your service, everything. You have to believe in it.
Yeah, you got to stand up.
I think that's how I look at it, man. And I mean, you know what I'm talking about. You had your business that you built to a certain level. You believed in your craft and the craft of your guys and what they did.
Absolutely.
And that's why you got it to that level. You know what I'm saying? And that's why you're going the route you're going in now. You believe in what you do, and you're like, hey, you know what? my my skill set is up here with the information that I have, and let's roll with it, basically.
Right.
So I think that's part of it too. So I mean, I didn't. Is it going to be detrimental if it doesn't work? Not really. I'm okay with it because I didn't. In the big scheme of things, I didn't take a big hit. But
Right.
kind of going back to what we were saying, if it's a big company, they might not think the same thing. It's going to
Yeah.
be.
It,
You have
it's
to see how it works for you.
right. It kind of seems like the bigger your company is, the bigger the gamble it is making that transition.
Yes,
I think there's also, from what it
but
sounds like, a lot of opportunity as well. And um,
exactly.
we've been going for like close to an hour, so if you want to like wrap it up and get some kind of final thoughts in, we'll start to wind down a little bit. I don't want to make it too long for the people that are going to watch the replay. Because dude, this has been gold. There's been a lot of awesome
Yeah,
information, and I'm so thankful that you like came prepared. You answered every question I have, bro. This has been perfect. This is awesome. And I think that anybody watching this has gotten a ton of value out of it so far, because most certainly this is something that is
yeah,
probably affecting people now or is going to affect people in the near future. And with that being said, it'll kind of segue into my like kind of summary, like my final thoughts on it, right? So it sounds like for the smaller guys that are just getting into the industry anyway, it's kind of like a huge opportunity, but also very costly at the same time. And the bigger the company, the more financially expensive it's going to be for them to make that transition. But like you said, there's also all of this new legislation. People are cracking down on their registration with the state and their licensing. So it's going to force a lot of people out. And when that happens, obviously there is a ton of work and a ton of money for bigger businesses or for the smaller guys that decide to go with it to step in and take that up and absorb that. So it's a huge opportunity,
yeah.
I think, for the early adopters and for people like yourself that said, hey, what do I really have to lose? I'm willing to take the risk. Let me jump in and see what happens. I think that for the first couple people to, or not first couple, but you know what I mean, for the early adopters, there's certainly the advantage because, again, like you said, there's stuff that's unknown still. And the people that get into it first are going to experience the failures and the troubleshooting and figure all of that out first, and they're going to be the people that learn and adapt with it. They figure out the breaking points of the new equipment. They figure out the kinks in the workflow and how to do this and be more productive with charging it in the meantime and doing all that, like working out all of the bugs with this new system. So I think the people that are the first ones to it are the ones that are going to be successful with it. And after that, it'll kind of be like how things are now, where it's like you got people that are doing it big, and then you've got the little guys and you've got the unregistered guys. But, as that gets all filtered out, I think the people like yourself that are kind of got to it early and figured it out are going to be successful with it. And also to kind of like go way back and, hit on one of your points, I think, dude, for you, it might be very beneficial as one of those early people to definitely film and document as much of that process as you can. Because, dude, there's going to be millions of people that don't see this video that need to hear this information. And if you can be a source for that as someone with the credibility of literally experiencing it within your business right now, that could be huge. And I think that could help a lot of people. So
Oh yeah,
I would encourage you to
absolutely.
give it a shot, man. And even if it's just like reviewing the
Yeah,
equipment, maybe talking about how it works within your business, how it's affecting your cash flow with your business, all of that, dude. Because there's a lot of people out there that, like I said, in the next couple of years are going to be searching for a source of information other than just, the guy at the expo with the shiny machine and telling you how great it is. But it's like, I don't know if it works like that until it's battle tested in the field. And as someone with that opportunity, you can speak on it, you know? And really push things to their limits and see if it actually is as good and as effective as people are trying to sell it as.
I think what I want to go ahead and do, like if it's cool with you, set up a time and a day, here when everything is kind of set up, to kind of do like one of those reviews on here and kind of just get like a live almost, like
Yeah.
just kind of set it up for like an hour and see what the equipment does and run times, how it's affected in the heat. But I guess, I guess to close everything out, I would say, yeah, I mean, if you're gonna be, I guess we look at like the Google bubble when it first came out, the people that invested in it early like benefited the most from it.
Mm,
And if you don't want to go all in like that, buy a piece of equipment, buy a trimmer, integrate it into your route 1 or 2 days a week just to see what it does. You don't lose anything. It's a $300 piece of equipment. If it doesn't work out, you lost $300. It's not a big deal. But I mean, something as simple as that. If you really want to see what it does, just something that simple, or buy a little blower, something that isn't gonna hurt your end game. You know, and I guess that's what I would suggest.
mm.
For me, is a little different. Obviously, like I kind of have to run with it and go with it, but yeah, I think that's what I would suggest. Just kind of run, and buy a piece of equipment, just like anything else. We go to Home Depot and, I want to try those drill bits out. And that's it. It's all trial and error. Don't, I wouldn't suggest someone go all in and replace their whole fleet, because if it doesn't pan out, then that was a foolish mistake. But
Absolutely.
again, it just goes to what I said, we have to live with the choice. A $300, line trimmer isn't going to hurt your feelings or your pocketbook if
Mm.
it doesn't work out. You trash it if it doesn't work out, and that's it. But yeah, I think this was fun, man. Kind of getting to share what's going on here. Because not everybody's dealing with it. Not You're right. Not everybody's dealing with it, and it's kind of cool to share my side of what's happening here. You know,
Yeah,
but
that was
yeah, I
awesome,
mean
dude.
that's the
Super.
note that I would leave everybody with. Yeah,
Yeah, I think that's perfect. This has been super informative.
yeah, dude.
Thank you for joining me. Thank you for taking the time out of your day to do this. I think this was helpful for not only myself, but for a lot of other people out there. And yeah, let's definitely do this again in the future. Definitely stay in touch. And if you want to do something else related to electric equipment with like
Yeah,
reviews and stuff like that, or just hop on here at some point again and talk and do an update and kind of just talk about anything else related to your business and landscaping and stuff like that, that would be awesome. So yeah, man, I think we'll close it out there.
yeah,
That was really productive. And yeah, if you want to sign off and kind of just do a little outro, we can do that and wrap it up.
yep. Um, I mean, I don't really have anything else to say. I guess it's just research the equipment, look into things, because there's stuff coming out, and uh, implement a piece of equipment here and there. It would be the best advice I could give, and my signing off. That would be it.
All right. Perfect, man. That was awesome. I'm going to
All
stop the
right.
recording.